Okay, so if I could get your attention, welcome. Iran Karapte, that's what we say in my Ainu language. Welcome means let me touch you gently with my heart. So come on in. Welcome to South. Um, I want to say a couple things. First, I just want to acknowledge that we are on Duwamish territory. So this is land that the Duwamish people and their ancestors have cared for in the good condition, in the good way that they have since time immemorial. So I want to thank and acknowledge the Duwamish people in the territories that we're on. And I also want to say that we're in the midst of the High Holy Days in the Jewish calendar, and this is Erev Yom Kippur tonight. And I just want to say Gamar Tmav to folks who observe, and that I hope you have a meaningful fast. Okay? So my name is Betsy Hasagawa, and I'm the brand new Associate Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion here at South. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's so great to have a house band. I use she, her, and her pronouns, and I'm Japanese and Ainu. Ainu are the indigenous people of Japan. So in case you're wondering, I'm starting some new protocols where I say that so I don't make people guess. So this is Ainu. This is called the Matan Pushi, and it's our traditional headgear, and it pokes away evil. So I just wanted to say that, and. So I'm pleased to MC the convocation today. So I just started in August. I didn't know what I was getting into, so it's beautiful that you are all here. Welcome. As one of my students, I came from Whatcom, one of my students said, you could be anywhere in the world, and you're here today, so thank you for being here. Okay, and again, I want to thank Brian Kirk and Good Company. So thank you so much. And I also want to thank Rich and Dean over there in SCC TV folks who are taping this, and this is going to be available on SCC TV in a few days. It's scctv.net in a few days. Okay? And so another housekeeping note, if you would please silence your cell phones. Vibration is fine, but silence your ringers so everyone can enjoy it, so you aren't that person who, when your phone starts ringing, everyone looks at you. So don't do that. Okay. So let me just do a double check. Is Cecile Hansen here yet? Okay. We are very honored that we will have Duwamish Chair Cecile Hansen come and open, but so we'll catch her in a moment. Okay, so let's see. So this is where I'm improvising. So I think we'll have her come when she gets here. Okay. So we have an interesting morning ahead, and so let's get started. So with me on stage is the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Seattle Colleges, Louise Chernin, and Vice Chair Steve Hill, and Board Member Rose Peralta. And we also have Seattle College's Chancellor Sean Pan, and South President Rosanette Raimondo Chariunsep. I know my own president's name. Okay, and Trustee Teresita Batayola sends her regrets that she's unable to be with us today, that she's here in spirit. Okay, so members of the district leadership team are in the front row, so if you would please hold your applause until all are introduced. And I think maybe if you would stand when I say your name, then people get to see you. You don't get to see you as well as me because I'm on the stool up here. But okay, so President Warren Brown from North. Okay, President Sheila Edwards Lang from Central. From SVI, Maureen Shader, Executive Dean of Seattle Vocational Institute, and Kurt Buttleman, Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Success. Jennifer Howard, Interim Vice Chancellor of Administrative Services. Associate Vice Chancellor Malcolm Grothy for Workforce. Dr. Andrea Inslee for Global Initiatives, Dr. Cindy Ritchie for Information Technology, and Ernest Phillips for Communication and Strategic Initiatives, and the Grand Master of all of this. Okay. And Tracy Russell, Interim Associate Vice Chancellor for Advancement. Okay, so please join me in another round of applause for everybody. Okay, now it's my pleasure to introduce South's President, Rosanette Raimondo Charian-Sapp.
Thank you. I love the idea of having theme music. Good morning and welcome to South, the land of the otters. This is our otter signal. My name is Rosie Raimondo Charian-Sapp, president of South Seattle College, and I want to thank my new colleague, Dr. Betsy Hasegawa, for facilitating the welcome, and I look forward to our meaningful welcome later in the program. I look forward to the leadership of Betsy, DeAndre Fisher, Valerie Hunt, our cadre of Associate Vice Presidents of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Together with their guidance and their coaching, we will all be able to accelerate our efforts into the future. I want to thank the Chancellor, Dr. Sean Pan, for hosting the event here at South, and all of our trustees present today for coming along and being here as well. And I also bring you greetings as the newest president in the Seattle District. Though I'm new in my role, my career is deeply rooted here, the place I've called my professional and my second home for the past 18 years. We're welcoming you to campus at a time of great transition and evolution. In addition to the leadership transitions, we are deep into Guided Pathways redesign work, which we've initiated in earnest back in October 2015. We're excited to be a part of the effort to bring Seattle Pathways redesign work to life and to evolve our own efforts to collaborate district-wide for the benefit of all of our students. This effort seeks to better serve students from our very first contact with them through to completion, all with the focus on equitable outcomes. As our effort has evolved and continues to evolve here at South, and transitions have occurred in leadership roles, our focus remains constant, that we're doing this work because it is equity work. I want to invoke a phrase that we use here at South, and I'll admit that we've borrowed it willingly from Skagit College, and I'll modify it for our uses today. Seattle Pathways Redesign is the institutional mechanism by which we will create equity. Seattle Pathways Redesign is the institutional mechanism by which we will create equity. Equity is not just a consideration that we make off to the side of the work or a subcommittee that's tasked with doing it within the larger effort. Equitable outcomes among all groups of students are both the why and the what, the reason why we do this and the ultimate outcome of the work. So thank you again for coming to South today. As you reconnect with or meet new colleagues, as you take in information and greetings from various speakers and presentations to come on the agenda, and as you participate in the afternoon professional development and the faculty reception, I hope you will continue to hold our students and our obligation to ensure equitable outcomes for all of them at the center of your day, your quarter, and your year. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to keep being amused by being on a step stool. Okay. Thank you, Rosie, for your warm welcome, and also for highlighting that equity is at the core of what we're all doing here together. So thank you. Okay. So for many years, our employee unions have also greeted audiences at convocations. So please welcome Annette Stouffer, President of the American Federation of Teachers, Local 1789. Okay. And Allison McCormick, Interim President of American Federation of Teachers, Seattle Professional Staff. And Matthew Davenhall, President of the Local Washington Federation of State Employees, Local 304.
Good morning. I'm Annette Stouffer, president of AFT Seattle Community College's Local 1789. It's a great honor for me to help welcome you all back to another year of teaching, learning, and the work that supports our mission. You are really lucky that I haven't been given enough time to deliver a lecture on labor history today. Organized labor has a very rich history that isn't talked about enough. Oh, sorry. I think I hit the enter button or something. I've been reading novels about deplorable conditions that led to the rise of unions, looking through the files in our office to learn our own story, and following local and national news very closely. We're seeing a resurgence in workers' interest in collectively taking action to better our lives. In my 20-plus years of involvement with our union, my commitment becomes deeper and deeper because of our historical accomplishments and the advantages we gain from our solidarity. No lecture, but I want to share a little of our local history. So 50 years ago today, the newsletter from the president of Seattle Community College, only one, announced that the Board of Trustees and the Seattle Community College Federation of Teachers had signed the first contract for faculty. So, 50th anniversary today. It was, yeah. It was a one-year agreement with the provisions fitting into 40 skinny pages, imagine. Earlier in 1968, SCCFT held its first election for union officers. There was a slate of 11 people, right here. Voting was held on February 15th, 1968. There seems to be a backstory to that contest that isn't in the files I found, so it'll be fascinating to learn what it is. Just a few years later, on June 1st, 1972, a meeting was being held to take a strike vote, and a very bright flyer shows that a top issue driving the call for a strike was equal pay for equal work for part-time faculty. Some issues are not easily solved. All right. I see someone nodding off out there, so I had better move on. Some may ask why unions matter. There's a quote from Angela Davis that speaks to that point for me. She said, "I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept." Yeah. Unions garner the power of many to change the things that we cannot accept. Over the last century, child labor laws were enacted, workplace safety regulations were established, the work week was cut back to give people time for family, recreation, and other pursuits. Unions have taken on social justice issues, transforming our own organizations to be inclusive of all members of our society, while influencing changes across the country. And there is so much more. Unions are the one force powerful enough to stand up for regular folks like us. It's the case that unions lost a lot of members in clout for decades. The radar wasn't picking up many traces of labor union activity. However, we were still successfully influencing politics, and we were still changing the things that we cannot accept, but not for all of the people who needed those changes the most. There's a wonderful irony that the attempts by right-wing billionaires to destroy unions are having the opposite effect. Worker activism is up, new unions are forming, teachers have gone on strike all around the country, and new members are signing up in record numbers. Yeah. There are still great challenges like income inequality and the lack of full-time permanent jobs. We will grab this important opportunity to turn things around, and we will persist for as long as it takes. That's what union members do to change the things that we cannot accept. AFT Seattle sees the importance of this moment. We will continue the work that we started a year ago to make our local stronger, more inclusive, and well prepared for the challenges ahead. We invite each and every faculty member to be involved. I will leave you with one more historical fun fact, apropos of nothing. On the day that our union received its charter from the American Federation of Teachers, that was September 1st, 1967, the Seattle Police Department started using pepper spray. Your homework is to find out if our striking faculty had any run-ins with the police and what the outcome of the strike was. Thank you so much, and happy 50th anniversary.
Greetings. My name is Allison McCormick, and I'm the Director of Mainstay and Sales at Seattle Central. Those are both programs that support students with disabilities in employment and academic support. And welcome to the beginning of the new academic year. It is really wonderful to be all together again. I want to begin by saying a special thank you to everyone involved organizing Convocation 2018, to the planning committee who have worked to create a dynamic convocation program, and for inviting all 3 unions to welcome you this morning. And to those folks who woke up very early to make sure our coffee was ready, to setting up all of the things that had to be arranged. And I would also like to acknowledge the leadership who have worked with laser focus this summer to ensure our campuses are bright and clean and safe, and our instructional programs are of the top quality. Last year at President's Day, I spoke about the pro-staff union as the new emerging union. Well, this year, I'm here to tell you we are emerged. As the months have passed, we have become recognized as a represented entity and with a contract with fair working conditions. A few highlights of our second contract, which took effect this July, are job security, the right to negotiate terms of an increased workload, a clear grievance process, and a wage beyond that of the COLA. This contract was bargained in good faith and with respect. It was done with an understanding of the circumstances of both employer and employee. This contract exemplifies what can be accomplished when leadership and employees work together for the best outcome. Our new contract gives clarity to both administrators and employees alike under the terms which we work. People often ask me why I support unions, and in particular, why I support this one. You can love your job and like your boss and still be pro-union. Unions and the collective bargaining process is the grassroots democracy in action. The collective bargaining process brings your professional knowledge and concerns forward. It gives voice to the needs of employees and the students we serve. Unions care about decent wages and all aspects of work life. We care, we show up, we vote, and together we make possible what is impossible for one person to accomplish. The board is, for the first time, complete with officers and operating committees. And we have representation from all campuses. AFT Pro staff now have representation at District Board of Trustee meetings, contract agreement management meetings, new employee orientations. We participate in district discussions regarding regional pay and are at the table with Washington AFT to advocate for more robust funding for higher ed. AFT Pro staff have representation delegates at the Martin Luther King Labor Council, which is the central body of labor organizations in our county. We regularly host informational sessions, lunch and learns, and send our members to conferences and trainings with Washington State AFT. And we have also supported several pro staff in navigating the grievance process when challenges were faced. We represent 172 staff members throughout Seattle colleges. 127 of us have committed to union membership. The week that the Supreme Court delivered Janus ruling, 5 former fee payers volunteered to become union members. And since this, over the summer, we have enrolled 7 new members. Last October, our bargaining team took, blah, blah, blah. I already said that. So I wanted to also point out that unions work for social justice in our communities and are one of the last defenders of the middle class. Lastly, being in this union means that you will always have help when you need it. We do not do our jobs to make money. For us, this work is our calling and it is our passion. We are a community of colleagues joined together to help people achieve their dreams. We stand up for what is right on behalf of each other, for our students, our college, and our community. As I walk the halls of our campuses, I see no evidence of anything less. Signs of encouragement, support, solidarity are everywhere. They're in our windows, on bulletin boards, and on doorways. That is why unions are important. Going forward, our goal is to empower and inspire this union. We will use the strength of collective action to ensure the resources are there to do the work we love and to make sure that the dreams of every student who walk through our doors are achieved. Have a great year. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Davenant. I'm not the president of Local 304. I'm just a spokesman for the local for today. I'm here to support our classified staff. We're in negotiations right now, and we need support from everybody to call the governor to get our contract through. Unfortunately, we have a deadline, October 1st, to have it on the governor's table to be put in the budget. This is the only classified union that basically has to have a deadline. No other union in this state has a deadline but the classified. And I think that's bull. And we need to change that. So we need to call the governor. It's very important. We want a fair contract. We got general government has a TA. Their budget, their alimony is going to be between $500 million to $750 million additional funding for them. We're getting squat. We get nothing from the governor. We want prevailing wages. We're not even getting there. There are even salary surveys says 87% of state employees are below the market rate, and 40% are below 25% behind that. We need a raise if you want good people to stay and work in this community. We're going out. Look what happened to the public school districts. They're getting double-digit raises. We're not getting squat. And it's time that we get to. So please support us and call the governor saying that we deserve a fair wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette, Allison, and Matthew. Thank you. And now let me just do a check to see if Cecile Hansen is here. Okay, so we'll keep checking. Okay, so we have almost 2,000 faculty and staff at the 3 Seattle colleges. And every year we recognize 4 of our colleagues with the Trustees Lifelong Learning Award. The award celebrates their outstanding commitment and dedication to the students, their jobs, and working together. These awards were established in 1991 to help support the intellectual and professional growth of Seattle College's employees. Each of today's awardees will receive $1,500 toward that goal. These awards have special meaning because the nominations were submitted by their colleagues. Many of their individual accomplishments are printed in today's program. Please welcome Trustee Chair Louise Chernin to the podium. She will present the first 2 awards, followed by Vice Chair Steve Hill, who will present the final 2 awards.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I don't know about you, when I woke up and I walked out there today, it really felt like a fall day, like the beginning of the year. So I want to, Dr. Pan, to my fellow trustees, Hill and Peralta, and to all the amazing people that are here. I'm just so honored. You know, we mentioned diversity, equity, and inclusion, and you are the rainmakers in that. So I just want to thank you for putting, we know that's in your heart, and all the hours that everybody in this room gives to make sure that there is access and equity in education. And it is the only leveler there is in this country. And so you are making it happen just by being here. So I am just so proud to have any role to know you and to work alongside of you as we try to change lives and provide opportunity for people very often the doors are shut for. So this award, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm really excited. It's always fun to honor people who give so much and often don't get recognition. So the first of the trustees' Lifelong Learning Award goes to classified staff recipient Julia Bouchons, who manages Julia manages Information Central at Seattle Central College. Her dedication to growth and professionalism represent the best of Seattle Central. She is committed to improving herself, the office she manages, and Seattle Central College as a whole. She models exemplary work performance day in and day out. She does this while leading more than a dozen student employees and making significant contribution to campus endeavors. Julia is an excellent motivator and planner. She meets regularly with each employee and steps up to fill in for her staff in emergencies. She finds time to counsel, support, and advise her employees. She also finds time to contribute significantly in other areas of the school, most notably through student leadership and the Sustainability Council, where she is chair. Whether volunteering her time for school events or other activities, Julia gets the job done with a smile on her face. Please join me in congratulating this amazing person, Julia Bouchons. Thank you very much. You sound amazing, and I don't know where you get the time to do all those things, but we'll, I think everyone here really figures out how to stretch a day. So the next recipient is John Figge, part-time instructor of Earth, Space, and Environmental Sciences at North Seattle College. John seems to be I don't know why this says seems to be. John is very popular at North. He wants students to have the best possible field experience, and he does double time to ensure they do. You can always tell when John's classes are meeting. You'll see a group of students pounding a 12-foot length steel pipe into the wetlands or other parts of the grounds. He supports other instructors in meeting their teaching goals, and his knowledge and experience provide the department the luxury of offering a variety of courses. John has a number of projects at North's campus, including the installation of signboards with QR codes that link to information about the geology, biology, and history of the area. He also led a project to archive huge trove of campus building and ground blueprints kept by the former groundkeeper. Most recently, he led a North research team that helped determine the alignment and sitting of the pedestrian walkway spanning I-5 and Bartonwood from the Northgate Transit Center. John has the rare distinction of being an instructor at North after he was a student. So he's been there quite a while, and we have benefited from his presence. Let's put our hands together for John, who is unable to attend today, but he deserves a huge recognition from all of you. Not? Okay. And when you see him, please remember to give him a congratulations, and I hope you spend the day congratulating each other as well. Again, thank you so much. It is now my pleasure to introduce my colleague and Vice Chair, Steve Hill.
Good morning. Pleased you're all here, and just to echo those comments about John Figge, I had a chance to work with John on the pedestrian bridge, and I think he represents and reflects the passion and dedication that you all have for our mission and what we're doing. I get to give 2 additional awards, and my first award, the first award that I get to give is to Karen Jurgensen, Chief Instructor at the Culinary Academy at Seattle Central. To say that Karen has made a mark on Seattle Central would be a major understatement. Back in 2004, she founded the Sustainable Food Practices classes at the Culinary Academy. She's grown them to 3 one-credit classes that are recognized as the first culinary-based sustainability classes in the nation. And for the past 15 summers, she has been the street chief instructor for farm culinary at the School of Domestic Arts in Rice, Washington. She also fundraises to provide scholarships so students can have hands-on experience in the farm-to-table model. Karen is a coach and mentor to new faculty and a guest lecturer for the SAGE and Women's Studies programs. Her professional and community involvement has brought enormous amounts of exposure and recognition to the Academy and the college. Please join me in congratulating Karen Jurgensen. Karen is unable to attend today, but accepting on her behalf is Greg Shiosaki, who is going to accept the award on her behalf. Greg? Take good care of this and give it to Karen.
Okay.
So the last award, but not least, is going to Dr. Kurt Buttleman, today's final Trustees Lifelong Learning Award winner. Kurt? So while I've had the close working relationship with Kurt over the last 5 years, he's been at Seattle colleges for more than 20 years. He started as a senior financial analyst. How old were you then? And since that time, he has served in a variety of leadership roles. Although this is notable, Kurt's greatest contribution might be his unwavering commitment to student success and reputation as a forward-thinking and inclusive leader. From CTC Link to Pacific Tower, Kurt has stepped up and kept things steady in stormy seas. Kurt's accolades extend from the 2006 Outstanding Business Officer Award from the Community College's Business Officers to the Puget Sound Business Journal 2014 Award for CFO of the Year. Through it all, Kurt has been forthcoming with his time and his attention in and outside the walls of Seattle colleges. He's never too busy to problem solve, collaborate, or chat. Please join in applause for Kurt Buttleman. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot of seats up here. If some of the folks who are sitting back there want to move up, while I pull my stool back over, why don't you come on up and take some seats if you want to. Okay. Okay, so let me just check again. Is Duwamish Chair Cecile Hansen here yet? No? Okay. Okay, we may have her at the end. Hopefully she'll be here. Okay, so now it's my pleasure. Where are my colleagues there? To introduce to you my colleagues, the other two Associate Vice Presidents for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And we're each going to say just a little bit about who we are. So DeAndre was not going to need this stool. So why don't you come on up?
Thank you. It is an honor to stand before you all, and I am gracious and humbled in this position. My name is DeAndre Fisher. My pronouns are he, him, and his, ally for they, them, and their. My passion behind this work stems from an intersectional lens, my lens as an African-American male, my lens as a first-generational college student, and my lens now as someone who believes in this work in so many levels and being an ally for marginalized communities. I consider myself a critical thinker. My philosophy on this work is that equality is a human rights issue. It is transformative and should be used as a tool for societal change while improving the qualities of life for all citizens. I thank you for your time, and I'm honored to stand with my colleagues here who I consider my family, and I want to most definitely thank everybody on the stage for this opportunity, and most definitely for my president at North, Dr. Warren. Thank you for the opportunity and trusting in me in this work. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting you all and working with you. And here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Give me just a moment, would you? I'm surprised I don't need this stool. Well, my name is Valerie Hunt, and I always go with my ancestors and with my family. However, I would like to say this, that we are all sisters and brothers because all of the women here in this room are related to each other because of mitochondrial DNA. And everyone else, yes. So hello, sisters. And then our brothers are related to us because they have mothers. So nice to see all our sisters and brothers here today. And I would also like to give honor, respect, and the honeymoon period for me is never going to be over with my president, Dr. Sheila Edwards Lang. So thank you also for believing in me and everyone else here because some of the different battles and roads we've crossed together. I also don't go anywhere without recognizing the women in my life, and that is Myrtie B. Strickland Hunt and Cersei Lee Turbeville, Juanita Kay, Juanita Jean, Rebecca, Mary, Louise, Lucille, and then we hit the black wall, which is what it's called for those of us who were stolen. That means that when you do your genealogy, you're going to eventually hit on one side of your family or the other. It's called the black wall. So, but I do have about 7 that I can recall who birthed me to be here today. Now, I never go anywhere without my friends. Most of y'all know that whenever you see me walking, I have a big bag that has about 6 or 7 books. And so instead of me using my own words, because Octavia Butler has says there are no new sons, right? Right. But there are different sons. So I want to give you some words that speak to our strategic plan at Seattle Central that our sister Audre Lorde and our brother Thich Nhat Hanh are able to evoke for us. So I'm going to start with our first strategic goal under equity, diversity, inclusion, and community, and is to create and implement a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan that provides direction for priorities and strategies. Well, what our brother Thich Nhat Hanh would say is this: teaching is not done by talking alone. It is done by how you live your life. My life is my teaching. My life is my message. And Audrey would tell us this, and has told us this: change means growth, and growth can be painful. Y'all get ready for the pain. But we sharpen self-definition by exposing the self in work and struggle together with those whom we define as different from ourselves, although sharing the same goals. So I'm going to go to the second. Address institutional racism and achieve equity and inclusion in order to recruit and retain students and employees who reflect the rich diversity in the community that Seattle Central serves. Then I turn again to my sister, Audre Lorde, and she says to us, because this is going to be hard work and painful work, I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal, and shared, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood, that the speaking profits me beyond any other effect. What are the words you do not yet have? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you sicken and die of them, still in silence? Perhaps for some of you here today, I am the face of one of your fears, because I am woman, because I am Black, because I am beloved woman, because I am myself, a Black woman, warrior, poet, and Associate Vice President for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Doing my work, I come to ask you, are you doing yours? And then our third strategic plan, a strategic goal under equity, diversity, inclusion, and community, is to create an educational environment that is framed by diversity, equity, and inclusion. Certainly, there are very real differences between us of race, age, and sex, but it is not those differences between us that are separating us. It is rather our refusal to recognize those differences and to examine the distortion which result from our misnaming and their effects upon human behavior and expectation. It is a lifetime pursuit for each of us to extract these distortions from our living at the same time as we recognize, reclaim, and define those differences upon which they are imposed. For we have all been raised in a society where those distortions are endemic within our living. Too often we pour the energy needed for recognizing and exploring difference into pretending those differences are insurmountable barriers or that they do not exist at all. This results in a voluntary isolation or false and treacherous connections. Either way, we do not develop tools for using human difference as a springboard for creative change within our lives. And that's what we're here to do. And so I thank you for allowing those of us who've come before us to shape the words that I wanted to share with you today. Not that I'm afraid of using my own words, but how can I do that when I am just one person who is doing the work that all of us are doing? So thank you for your time.
Okay. Well, thank you. And you know, oops. And I'll say my statement. My statement is very short. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you in our community for welcoming us in the way that you have. And again, I'll say there's more seats up here, so you can come on up. You know, and I want to thank Rosie for really prepping me in the ways that you have, and I feel very grateful for the onboarding that I've had with my colleagues and also with Tina Young. So what I want to say is that that in the context of creating an equitable creating equitable educational institutions, I'm honored to be asked to build community, develop leadership, and promote healing in order to create a just society. And I look forward to doing this together with each and every one of you. And I thank you for the opportunity, so I'll keep it short like that. Thank you. Okay. So next I'd like to introduce our Chancellor, Dr. Sean Pan, an accomplished leader in higher education. Dr. Pan brings experience as a college president, provost, administrator, and professor. He centers his leadership and management practices on fulfilling the community college mission and promoting student and community success. Whether it's formulating a common vision or drafting a strategic plan, he emphasizes the need to work with internal and community stakeholders to gain consensus. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Sean Pan.
Thank you. Thank you, Betsy. Good morning. It has been absolutely beautiful summer, but it's almost over. Smoke is gone. The liquid sunshine is coming. It is truly wonderful to see you. So with great excitement and anticipation, I welcome you, faculty, classified administrative staff, to the 2018-19 academic year. If you're new to Seattle Colleges, please stand. Let us recognize you. If new to Seattle College, please stand. Let us welcome you to Seattle Colleges family. Thank you. For the returning faculty, staff, welcome back for the second year, for the 5th year, 25th year, or 45th year. I want to thank you for dedicating yourself to the work of student success. Thank you for giving of yourself to be part of Seattle Colleges. Thank you for working together during these challenging times. As a tradition and as a passage of right, I invite you to recommit to the mission of and the values that defines who we are, what we do. Our total focus individually, try to see if I can learn to, there we go, defines who we are and what we do, individually and collectively. Our strategic goals, student success, diversity, inclusion, equity, and community, organizational excellence, partnerships. These are the values that defines us work. Let me invite all of us to keep our mission, goals, values in mind as we go about our work in the coming weeks and months. Before I proceed, I want to take another minute to thank Trustee Channing, Trustee Hill, Trustee Peralta for being with us on this day of convocation. Their commitment, leadership, and guidance is a critical part of Seattle College's governance and strategic planning. Via today's convocation, we begin a new year. It affords us an opportunity to reflect and celebrate on our collective work this past year and recharge for the exciting work ahead of us. For sure, this past year has been challenging as we continue to contend with enrollment dip and budget cuts. But it is also very productive on many fronts. One front is the progress we made together with regard to taking system approach to managing strategic and operational initiatives. Just as an example, the 4 separate IT units are now one, with staff working at the college campuses but assuming district-wide responsibility based on their expertise and specialties. Now we have shared ticketing, helping desk system, and a single point for IT help. Similarly, the 4 web services units are now all merged into one coherent web services team. Staff have offices on college campuses but serve district-wide responsibilities. Seattle College's websites will soon be on the same platform. College HR directors whose work closely together with Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services, Jennifer Howard, on HR services, process improvement, compliance, and investigations. This brings me to an important point, which is that the full potential of Seattle colleges during these difficult times can be realized when we look beyond each of the colleges. Greater efficiency can be achieved if we share financial and human resources across the college boundaries. An environment more conducive to teaching and learning can be created for students when we design and manage instructional and student support programs and the integrated system. As convincing evidences of achieving system integration, we now have a district-wide common course waiting list, making it possible for students to get timely and accurate course information. We now have a common set of areas of study, you maybe call it meta majors, which establish a framework under which students can explore areas of interest and decide on their academic or career path. Rather than approaching selection of student success technology tools separately, college by college, we now have Starfish Enterprise Success Platform as the common platform for all 3 colleges. By evaluating every aspect of the student experience at Seattle colleges, we now have identified 38 specific actionable strategic enrollment recommendations. Finally, thanks to the focused and disciplined work of many staff and volunteers over the past year and a half, we now have the new Seattle Colleges Foundation up and running. 3 of the 4 foundations, that's Seattle Colleges Foundation, North Seattle's Educational Fund, and the former District Foundation, made a commitment to consolidate and merge into the new Seattle Colleges Foundation. South Seattle College Foundation, although decided not to merge, moved off campus at this point, but is continued to be committed to continue its support to the work at South Seattle College in the forms of student scholarship and program support. See, all of these represent significant changes. As we look back on the past year, we acknowledge these changes has been unsettling, has been hard. But we have not only survived these changes, I believe we're in a better place. You see, achieving system integration is fundamentally about leveraging our collective financial and human resources to enhance student experience, to raise efficiency while honoring and preserving individual colleges' autonomy and unique strength. ASI is about adopting system thinking, about strengthening Seattle College's external image, reputation, competitiveness, while improving internal coherence. Many faculty and staff have, over the past year, raised questions, offered suggestions and criticisms. For that, I thank you. I offer you my gratitude. This list of progress and accomplishments is limited to the district-wide work. There are many proud, outstanding accomplishments that were achieved at each of the 3 colleges. On Thursday, during the President's Day, your college president will highlight them and celebrate with you. As we kick off the new academic year, it is prudent we look ahead and look around a bit. As Seattle's the only open access post-secondary institution, we bear the responsibility to offer quality academic and training programs that are relevant and responsive to the needs, expectations of our city and the greater Seattle region. We must be a solution to the challenges, to the problems we all face. Seattle, yes, it is a booming, thriving technology hub of the country. that economic boom has brought a complex set of challenges because of the skyrocketing high cost of living has disproportionately affected hardworking, non-technology sector governmental employees, including you, the Seattle faculty, Seattle College's faculty, staff, administrators. By the way, your Board of Trustees, your senior leadership team, and your union leadership has pressed and will continue to press hard for regional pay adjustment. Among the complex set of challenges confronting Seattle, two are particularly relevant to our mission, to our values. First is the economic inequity. Second is the shortage of qualified and trained workers in STEM fields in manufacturing. Just about everywhere we go, I go, your college president, your trustees, we hear, whether it's at the Chamber's Commerce meeting or the county's Workforce Development Council meetings, we hear the mayor, city council, county council members, legislators, and CEOs of large companies that say there are many good paying jobs in Seattle. However, they cannot find enough local workers. They have to import talents from the outside. For sure, Seattle colleges have, over our entire history, been an important force in promoting social, educational, economic equity, and in workforce development. Today, more than any time before, we are expected to become an even more powerful force, and there is much greater urgency for us not only to keep our doors open, but more importantly, to ensure that more students who come onto our campuses leave with credentials so as to continue their studies at a four-year university, to obtain good paying jobs, or to do better in the current place of employment. So to answer that urgent call, we have to be much better at what we do. Now I want to share a few numbers to illustrate why we should and can do better. Seattle colleges today captures about 19% of Seattle public schools' high school graduates. Where do the rest go? Something to consider. Seattle colleges retains about 61% of new award-seeking students from fall to winter, and about 40% of complete an award or transfer after 4 years. Historically underserved students of color complete at a rate of 33%. Students starting in developmental math complete at a rate of only 26%. So I have no intention to rain on the crowds on this day. It is for the reason that we need to look at the data. This data tells us something we need to pay attention to. So with today's convocation, we have a chance to start anew. I trust you agree these numbers are not something we want to brag in front of the media. I trust you agree that we cannot settle for this level of performance. I trust you agree, Seattle colleges, we collectively are better than this. For the underserved, under-resourced students who come to us with dreams and hopes to improve their lives, we must do better. For the recent immigrants, for the single mother with children to care for the struggling LGBT students, for the veteran students, for those homeless or near homeless students, for all of those we collective care and love we must do better. So in the new year, we have an opportunity to learn from each other within Seattle colleges and to learn from others outside Seattle colleges. In that vein, we want to take on 2 major programs collectively across the district in the new academic year. The first is the Seattle Promise. I'm sure you know by now that Mayor Durkan strongly endorsed South Seattle College's 13-year program, has courageously, boldly challenged us to expand that program to the 14th year across all high schools in the city. In November, residents will cast their votes for the new 7th-year education levy plan that totals about $636 million, including $40.7 million set aside for provide tuition and scholarships for all Seattle public students who desire to get an education, a degree, a certificate at one of our Seattle colleges. I'm not going to tell you how to vote in November, but it is important for us to realize how significant this vote is, how important it is, this initiative, for Seattle families, for Seattle businesses, for Seattle colleges, for Seattle high schoolers. The city's mayor, city's council have taken a big step in investing in Seattle colleges. We simply must take this on collectively, and we must do a better job in instituting Seattle Promise. The implementation will call for increasing the current 200+ 13 years students by a minimum of 300 in the next few years. In addition, coming for 2019, students will be allowed to enroll and study at any of our 3 colleges. We have in place an internal design team that led by Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lane and Rosie, our new president of South Seattle College, and other leaders. We also have an external design team made up of partners from the city, Seattle Public Schools, Puget Sound Educational Service District. We have just hired the first Seattle Promise director. Is Melody here? Let me ask Melody McMillan to stand so we can congratulate you on this new role. Melody comes from North Seattle College, currently serving as Director of Advising. Thank you. The second program that I think is equally exciting, challenging perhaps, it is Seattle Pathways. That was referred to by Rosie in her earlier remarks. Before saying a bit more about Seattle Pathways, let me just say what Pathway model is about. So for me, the Pathways model, it is an integrated, institutional-wide approach to student success based on intentionally designed, clear, coherent, and structured educational experience that guide each student effectively, efficiently towards from the point of entry through to the attainment of credentials, careers. Central to this model are clear educational coherent program maps, which include specific course sequences, progress milestones, and program learning outcomes that align to what will be expected of the students upon graduation. I wholeheartedly agree with Rosie that we must approach the implementation through the equity lens, with equitable student outcomes in mind. Those days are over when we can simply enroll students, allow them to accumulate credits, let them sink or swim on their own. That approach has not worked very well, and it is irresponsible. Taking the key principles of the Pathways model and connect them to the initiatives already underway at our 3 college campuses is what Seattle Promise is about. As you know, South Seattle College is one of the 30 colleges across the nation selected to participate in the Intensive Pathways project since fall 2015. In the meantime, at North Seattle colleges, they have transitioned to a case management advising model. At the Seattle Central College, the Career Exploration Center has been exploring intervention strategies that move undecided students to completion. Now, with the acquisition of the Startfish, this new platform, we have come to a point in time when we need to use all we have learned internally and externally to determine the best common way forward by leveraging our collective learning, our collective energy resources to move more students to the finish line. It matters very little what we call this initiative. It matters a great deal that we make real on the promise that Seattle Colleges is chartered to deliver. In a quick minute, Dr. Kurt Bottleman will facilitate a panel of faculty and staff colleagues coming together to explore in further detail the Pathways model and the potential rewards and challenges of implementing Seattle Pathways. Allow me to end my remarks by asking 2 questions for all of us to ponder. The first, what do we collectively want Seattle colleges to be known for? Mediocrity or excellence? Status quo or innovation? And second, what would you, me, individually, collectively be willing to do to help achieve that excellence and innovation? Thank you for being here this morning. I wish all of us a great, exciting academic year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pan, for your thoughtful, sobering, and inspirational words. And thank you very much. I want to just take a pause as we do a little shift here. So we're going to have a moderated guided pathways panel led by Dr. Puddleman. And so I want to thank the folks on stage, and we'll bring up the next crew. But I also want to thank the interpreters, the very hardworking interpreters. It's a lot that we're doing to open up access for everybody, so I want to appreciate that you're here. Okay, so before we begin, we'd like to show you a short video, and then we'll move to the panel.
By going to college, I hope I make my daughter proud. Giving her the best things that I didn't have would be really good things to live for. I'm a full-time student, I'm a full-time mom, and I'm the first in my family to go to college. My parents didn't get very far in school. My stepdad got to 6th grade, my mom got to 3rd grade. They really pushed me to go to college, finish high school. So this is how my day goes. My husband wakes up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for work. I get up, I make him lunch, and then go back to bed. My daughter and I wake up at 9:30. We start making breakfast, I clean up, do some laundry, then bathe her. My husband comes home, he takes care of our daughter. I get an hour to sneak in some homework. My mom comes to pick my daughter up. My husband takes me to school. We pick up our daughter, and then I make dinner. I have to finish my homework. I put my daughter to bed. My husband and I talk for a bit. That's the only real time we have. By 11:30, we're asleep. I went into college not knowing very much. I had no idea where to start. I would cry every night, call my mom, be like, oh, I'm gonna quit. This is my first semester with Guided Pathways, and I feel more relaxed. I went into my counselor's office and I told him that I wanted to become a teacher. Started showing me, these are the classes you have to take. This semester you're gonna take English with math and then 2 easy classes just so you won't have the overload. And now I know what to do, and I feel like I'm not wasting my time. I'm determined to finish those classes so I can move on. My brothers, they really look up to me because I'm the oldest. My 10-year-old brother always says, I want to be like Sarah. I went to school, I think like 2 weeks ago when we were in the car. And my daughter, she was like, Mommy, I'm so proud of you. And then we just started bawling our eyes. Yeah. She's great.
Good morning.
By going to college.
So everybody got their wiggles out? My name is Kurt Buttleman. I'm currently serving as interim vice chancellor for academics and student success at Seattle Colleges. As Steve Hill said earlier, I've been with the colleges for more than 20 years. And during those 20 years, I've been involved in and witnessed to some very exciting and rewarding work. It's amazing what you have all done for students during that time. Give yourselves a round of applause. You've done more, a louder round of applause. You've done more for students. However, I personally have not experienced the level of dynamic change and uncertainty that we have been experiencing the last few years. It has seemed to me like everything is moving, and sometimes in different directions. ASI, CTC Link, district-wide strategic planning, Seattle Promise, new leadership, dramatic change in our communities, and on and on and on. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me, and almost always it's a bit confusing. Today's panel discussion is the very beginning of a Seattle Colleges-wide conversation about what Seattle Pathways has meant and could mean for us and our students in the future. The panel and I are not expecting our few minutes of discussion to make everyone in the audience an expert or even a believer in guided pathways or Seattle Pathways. But rather, since we're an institution of higher learning, I have a few learning objectives for the next 20 minutes. First of all, we're hopeful that you'll gain some high-level knowledge about pathways and how it relates to some of the work we're already doing here in the Seattle Colleges. You'll learn some about the research that's being done on pathways nationwide and locally here. Hopefully you'll see how you and your role might fit into this work in the coming years. And finally, and Dr. Pan alluded to this in his remarks, gain a better understanding of how we might use Seattle Pathways as an umbrella or through line between a series of sometimes seemingly disconnected initiatives, with the 4 big ideas of guided pathways, which I believe are overhead, serving as the pillars of this work over time. So to help us achieve these objectives, we are very lucky. You don't know how lucky we are. We are very lucky to have this panel of experts and practitioners with us here today. So I'm very excited to introduce them. From my right, whoop, they're not sitting. We've gone off script already. So I'm sitting randomly on the stage right now. I'm going to start with Dr. Christy Wellington Baker. You want to raise your hand? Dr. Wellington Baker currently serves as the Executive Director of the Student Success Center at the Washington State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, focused on evidence-based large-scale reforms designed to close equity gaps and improve the educational attainment levels of all Washington State Community College students. Previously, Dr. Wellington Baker served as Dean of Student Success and Executive Director of Strategic Initiatives at Walla Walla Community College and provided consultations on retention and completion strategies across the nation. She's a 2018 alumnus of the Aspen Presidential Fellowship Program. Give Dr. Baker a round of applause. Katie Kovacic is research coordinator in the Community College Research Initiatives Group, which conducts research nationally on equitable college access, progression and transfer, degree completion, and employment and living wage careers for underserved students and diverse learner populations. Their current Guided Pathways initiative is working with student success centers to develop strategic coaching designs for Guided Pathways implementation. She brings a research and a multi-state perspective on how various states are approaching this reform. Let's give Katie a round of applause. Melody McMillan, raise your hand, currently is the Director of Advising at North Seattle College, and as Dr. Pan announced earlier, will soon be transitioning to the role of Seattle College's Seattle Promise Director. Congratulations, Melody. She has served as the Assistant Director of Advising at Northern Kentucky University prior to joining the Seattle Colleges. In the last year, Melody had partnered with college administration staff at North to lead the adoption of case management a case management advising model. She also serves on district-wide STEM and student success committees. Thank you for being here, Melody. And because at Seattle Central things are always a little bit different, we have a dynamic duo from Seattle Central. Dr. Josh Worley and Dr. Crystal Balhan are full-time biology and psychology instructors respectively. In collaboration with Ann Murkowski at North and Jay Ashcraft of South, they co-coordinate the district-wide National Science Foundation grant called Ready, Set, Transfer. Ready, Set, Transfer aims to increase the retention, persistence, graduation, and transfer rates of low-income women and students of color in STEM, with a direct focus on supporting students in pre-college math. Welcome, Josh and Crystal. And because South is the college that it always obeys the rules, we have Tish Lopez sitting in the correct chair. The only one of the panel. She's an English faculty member at South Seattle College. She's been serving as a faculty representative on South's guiding team for Guided Pathways for the last 2 years. In addition to her work on the Guided Pathways initiative, she co-led the district-wide Developmental English Pathway Redesign, which won a 2017 League of Innovation Award. Tish is currently working with English faculty to bring directed self-placement to the Seattle colleges district-wide and will be co-leading a workshop on this topic at 10:45 today. She's encouraging you to attend her workshop. Thank you for being here, Tish. So I think we're ready to get started, and I'll just dive in with some questions. So first question is, what makes this Guided Pathways different? Is this just another educational fad, or why is this a different initiative for us? Pass the mic. Tish, you've got a mic. What have you got to say?
No, it's not just a fad. You know, a fad is something that comes and it goes, and all of us in the Seattle colleges have definitely seen those initiatives. And too often those initiatives happen in isolation or they happen in silos. It's certain departments or certain programs leading a change in a particular area, often with grant funding, and then once that funding goes, that program often goes as well. Where Guided Pathways or Seattle Pathways is different is it really is about systemic change and cultural change. And it's about breaking down the different silos, bringing the different units together to take a look at what we do and ask, how can we do it differently? How can we do it better? And how can we reduce equity gaps?
Christy, anything to add? Statewide
That was pretty
perspective?
amazing. I don't think so. I would just like to add one thing that I've heard other folks talk about a lot is the concern that this is another thing and they'll bide their time and it will go away. Quite frankly, I don't care what you call it, Guided Pathways, Seattle Pathways, a reform effort, but really thinking about it in terms of reconstituting the fabric of the institutions and how your students are experiencing your institutions.
I don't have too much more to add. You guys have done a great job. But I think, oh, sorry. Is that better? Okay. I think the only thing I would add, and it's kind of like restating a little bit of what you guys said, and Kurt as well, is that Guided Pathways is an organizing framework, and it can be adapted and utilized based on your particular context at your campus. And I think that's what's so great about it. It's very versatile, and people can, utilize it to fold in the work and the initiatives that they're already doing.
What about Josh, Crystal, or Melody? We've got sort of the people with Guided Pathways formal on their resume here. We've got the folks who are doing work that's very similar. How does this feel to you?
Going off of what Christy shared about the student experience and reforming the student experience, I would add that the Guided Pathways framework creates an opportunity for students to succeed on our campuses and to achieve their educational goals, and in a way that it's not just luck, that they stumbled into somebody who helped them along the way, or that they found a program that was designed to support them and their very specific needs. That it's not luck, that we've created some really intentional structures and put them in place so that as soon as students are onboarded, that they have a path and they're being supported along that path until they reach their educational goals.
Anything to add? Crystal, Josh, as you've been implementing Ready, Set, Transfer across the district, any lessons that resonate with the way you're understanding Guided Pathways and Seattle Pathways?
Well, I think maybe one other way that it's different, and this isn't specific to Ready, Set, Transfer, but that the motivation for change is not just internal, but it's also external from industry, who is, as we heard earlier today, demanding well-trained STEM students. And so that there's that external support for this change that's directing students towards their educational goals.
Great. So since you guys went off script with the seating assignment, I'm going to take your cue. Dr. Pan showed some visuals with some statistics during the middle of his remarks. Any responses to that information? Katie or Christy, anything that resonates in terms of other organizations?
Like things that are, succeeding statistically and the successes that people are having. One of the states, so Tennessee, they have 13 colleges in their system. They've been doing this work since 2010. So there's a recent article out now looking at their successes. So for 6 years, 2010 to 2016, and there have been in terms of success rates, the credit accumulation benchmark, that's more than doubled, as well as for completing college math and English, those rates have tripled. And one particular statistic that stands out a lot is in math during that time frame, completing college level math for first-time students went from 18% to 45% over that time. So that's really significant.
Do you want to repeat that just so people heard that?
So math, completing for first-time students, completing college level math went from 18% to 45% during those 6 years. And also we're seeing racial gaps narrowing during that time. And I don't have the stats on where it started, so it's maybe not as impactful, but where they are now, Black students have completed their English level math for first-time students. They're at 55% completing in the year, and then Hispanic students are at 64%, and white students are at 65%. So we're seeing that racial gap is narrowing.
Great.
You can clap, it's cool. And it's a lot of hope, right? So in our state context, one of the things I think is important for us to understand is that as we look across our state statistics around that college level math in the first year, it is a lever for completion for our students. Someone asked me yesterday at Green River, so I'm going to clarify this. I'm not confused that it's a causation, but there is a relationship definitely between students who complete college level math in that first year and their completion rates. It's significant. It's a more than 35% difference amongst our students. So as you think about that, and then their transition onto the bachelor's degree and completion of that, again, significantly different for the students who completed that college level math in the first year. Now, we all know there's lots of reasons for that, but at the end of the day, that's a really important focus area for this work.
So lots of good evidence that this is working here and elsewhere. Sounds great. Are there any challenges that you've encountered in implementing some of this work? Tish, you've got the microphone. And any challenges?
I've been part of the Guided Pathways initiative on South Seattle's campus now since its iteration. And one of the biggest challenges is that we're all here because we believe in the work that we do, and we're all dedicated to helping our students. And when we're looking at just the work we do, we can pat ourselves on the back and say, I'm doing a good job. For me as a faculty member, I can look at the number of students passing my classes. I can talk to my students who've gone on to achieve their academic and educational goals, and I can feel like I'm doing everything right. Where Guided Pathways gets tough is that you have to take a look at the statistics that Chancellor Pan shared, and you have to take a step back and look and say, I think I'm doing great, but so many of our students are not actually reaching their goals, and why? And that leads to tough questions, and it leads to the realization that there are things we aren't doing right. There are ways in which our system is a maze, and it's hard for students to navigate, and for many of our students, when they reach a roadblock, they give up. And so where Guided Pathways gets tough is that oftentimes I'm in a room with faculty, staff, and administrators from all around the college. We have our college president there. We have the vice president of student services. We have faculty from all different units. We have staff. We have, I won't list, but we have everyone. We have the core group there. And we're having to take a look at, for example, math. And when you look at math, I think in the past we would have just looked at our curriculum. We would have looked at course outcomes. We would look at how many courses till students reach college level. But Guided Pathways work is taking a bigger picture. So we also have to look at placement. How are students placing into math? What is that process like for them? Are there barriers they encounter? We have to look at advising. How are students being advised about math? Is that advising helping students reach their goal? And so you have to take a larger systemic view. And sometimes when you're in that team, because it is breaking down silos, when you're in that team with other advisors and people from financial aid and people from all across campus, they make you realize that there's certain things that you're doing that's not working. And it's tough. And your initial reaction is to resist and to push back and to say, no, like what we're doing is right. And I think to really do this work meaningfully, you have to let your egos go and you have to let go of how we did things in the past. And you have to be willing to embrace a new way of doing things. And that's tough. And it really does take trust and it takes building a relationship with your colleagues. And that can't be done quickly. And so the work that we're doing on our campus, I think it's something that it takes time and you are gonna have those tough moments, but it's because of that. But if you can work together and you can let your egos go, great things can happen.
Josh, Crystal, any of that resonate with your work across the district on RST or something else to add there?
Yes. First, can I ask the audience, how many of you have heard of Ready, Set, Transfer? Wonderful. How many of you actually know what it is? Okay, if you weren't looking, there were quite a few hands that have heard RST or Ready, Set, Transfer, and I would say significantly fewer who could maybe describe what it is. And I have a hunch that that's the same for Guided Pathways. Many of us have heard that phrase but don't actually know what it is. And I would say for Ready, Set, Transfer, that's one of our challenges, is that those of us who are administering the grant and involved with our students, we really believe in it, and we're excited about the outcomes that we're seeing, and that's not enough. So I'm going to take this time to tell you a little bit about Ready, Set, Transfer. That's a shameless plug, mostly for our students. So we are operating at all 3 colleges, and we are focused, as Kurt described, on supporting economically disadvantaged STEM students, particularly women and students of color. And the way we do that is through a suite of interventions. So students get faculty mentorship, they get research opportunities. We are trying to build STEM identity and STEM culture, bringing STEM speakers to campuses. And perhaps most importantly to our students, we scholarship them. And that's where you come in. We haven't scholarshiped enough students yet. We have much more funds. So if you have a promising STEM student, if you have a person who you're not even sure if there may be a promising STEM student, we really want you to refer them to us. So I think making these initiatives, I guess expanding them into the institutional place like, Tish was talking about, is something that we need in RST. And if you can bear with me for just a moment, let me tell you why you should refer some of those students to us, and it speaks to some of the data that we just saw. So in our first round with RST, we have data from 2012 to 2016 that shows that 38.6% of our members graduated from a Seattle college, and during that same time, with a matched comparison group of STEM students in the colleges, only 16.8% graduated. When we look at Central in particular, we say that 69% of our members have graduated compared to 33% of that matched STEM group at Central. And these numbers look the same as we look to transferring to a 4-year. 55% of RST members at Central have transferred. That's compared to 17% of the STEM general population. 13% of RST members then graduated from a 4-year college compared to only 3% of our matched population. And you might think that perhaps we are including just those already most resourced, prepared students, but that's not the case. In our STEM population, 45% of our students start in pre-college math, compared to only 30% of the general STEM population. So our program does seem to really be accelerating our students' success through both what's happening in the colleges as well as they move on into their four-year universities.
Great example. Give Josh and Crystal and Ann and Jake a round of applause for that. We're going to go to our lightning rounds now. So we're going to have 2 lightning rounds. So just pass the mic down the stage. So see, I'm improvising on you guys like you did on me. Share one reward or success that you've experienced in doing some of this work. Melody's got the microphone.
One reward that we've seen in advising at North since our advising redesign has been, at least that I have seen, has been students who know who their advisor is and trust their advisor. And when a roadblock comes, when a bump along the way comes, they come to advising because they know that there's a person there that they know and they have a relationship with, and they've met with that person more than one time. They haven't been shopping around for different advisors, and they have this deep relationship that they can navigate through their roadblock with that person. And it just is so rewarding to see that, and to have students in June come to advising and they just want to give their advisor a hug to say thank you and that they're moving on and they're done with us. And it's really just beautiful and nice to see.
Great, thank you. Josh?
Very closely related to that, Crystal mentioned the faculty mentors that all RST students have, and that's something that faculty mentors have been working with advisors and sort of helping guide students towards advisors when they're not sure about what they should take, so the classes they should take or how they should sequence those so that they're not taking all of their STEM classes in the same quarter. Our faculty mentors have been really helpful in guiding them towards their advisors, college advisors, to figure out that sequencing and figure out that pathway that's going to be right for them, including telling them to go and look at the place they want to transfer to and look at the prereqs at that institution and to sort of create their own pathway using that information. So that's been a great success, is hearing from those students again say, oh, if it hadn't been for my faculty mentor and them telling me to go to the advisor, I'd have spent X amount of money, I'd have been here a number of quarters more. So that's been great.
Kristen?
I just say that the biggest reward, of course, is the witnessing of the student experience and thinking about what if that's every student's experience? What if it's not constructed just for some? What if it's constructed for every student who walks through our doors? I was lucky enough to be standing in the back of the room a few minutes ago, and a former student of mine came up and said, I'm working at North Seattle College. And I said, oh my God, that's amazing. But I think about the experience that that person had, and I think every one of the students who comes through our doors, who steps into that difficult space of getting in the parking lot and walking in, and doesn't think this is the place for them because they're not sure they're for college, I don't want any student to not get that experience. So that's the reward for me.
One more lightning round question. Maybe we'll start with Tish. Tish, we spent some time at a Guided Pathways event last month, and you gave me lots of advice. So what advice would you have for us as we embark on this work?
I love giving him advice. What advice would I give? I would say a couple things. One, I think it is important to be engaged. I know a lot of us are overextended and we're tired and it's hard to want to take on extra work, but this work is truly, truly meaningful. It's taking a look at the practices and processes on your college that are not working and asking again, like, how can we make it better? And it's working with a collaborative team across your campus to figure it out. And it's a really wonderful opportunity to make true systemic change that will have a huge impact on students. In English, we used to have 11 standalone reading, writing, and grammar pre-college English courses. And then, yeah. And as part of our work in redesigning, and this was with the help of a lot of the work that was happening in Guided Pathways, we've now reduced it down to 2. We essentially have 1 pre-college English class and 1 co-rep class, and students are now reaching college level in 1 quarter or less. It's significant. And it's worth noting too that because we built in productive persistence and we changed some of the curriculum and how we teach it, the student success rates have never been higher. It's as high as 86% in certain sections. So it's really, truly great work that can happen when you get involved in this work, but it's only great work when, again, you have that team that is working together across the campus to make those systemic changes and to be willing, again, to let those egos be pushed to the side and say, how can we do things better? And so one of the things I've learned from our Guided Pathways effort is in order for it to be successful, it really does have to be a whole team effort. It just can't be administrator-led, but it also just can't be faculty and staff-led. Like, it has to be all people at the table working together. And they have to consistently be at the table so that we are all part of the conversation and understand what's going on. Beyond that, there just has to be support in terms of giving faculty and staff in particular the time to really kind of engage in this work, because it does take time and conversation. Yeah, I'll end it there.
Great. Let's give our panel a round of applause. Thank you. So I just want to say, as we were preparing for this panel, we had a couple of conference calls, and it just happened to me recently, or again, as Tish was talking there. This work is exciting. Every time sort of I hear the energy and the outcomes that are coming forward from this work here at South, at Central, at North Seattle, and across the district, across the nation, the hair on your neck and you get goosebumps when you hear this stuff. So we're going to continue to proceed down this pathway, pardon the pun, in the coming years. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fit neatly in a box, all this work, but I hope people are engaged and energized as we move forward on this. 2 ways to continue the conversation today. In the next 10 or 15 minutes, there are a couple of workshops that relate directly to Seattle or Guided Pathways. I'll give another plug for the English-directed self-placement workshop that will be held by Caitlin Carl, and Tish will be participating in that. Guided Pathways 101 by Jesse Knappenberger and Greg Dempsey here from South. And Come Meet the Technology. The Chancellor alluded to Starfish in his remarks in our CRM. So Barb Childs and Daniel Cordes have those workshops. So thank you for your attention and for your participation today. I look forward to working on this in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. Thank you to the panelists for your words, your inspiring words. Okay, and so we look forward to everyone getting to continue the conversation. Okay, so that session, that particular session, is going to be 10:45 in Rainier Hall, room 304, and pretty much all the breakout sessions. You can see the titles in the rooms in your programs. Okay, so we also have tours of the new Cascade Hall and Chinese Garden today, and all tours begin at the clock. They meet at the clock tower out here, and all workshops and tours start promptly at 10:45. I'm just going to do one more quick check. Is Duwamish Tribal Chair Cecile Hansen here? Okay, next time. Okay, so a few more notes before we move on. So, if you have not already gotten a chance to see the posters that are presented by the recipients of the professional development grants, they're out in the lobby here, and so each of the grantees has spent time overseas, and they're eager to share their experiences. And also, I'd like to please thank our generous sponsors for the box lunches, Barnes & Noble and college bookstores. And if you ordered a lunch, please pick it up in the cafeteria over here, right around the corner, after the workshops. Then there is a faculty reception with Dr. Pan at 1 o'clock in the Wine Academy. So as we're closing, I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, and a very special Seattle College's thank you to everyone who participated. I'd like to thank the panelists. I'd like to thank the union folks. I'd like to thank the presidents and the Board of Trustee members. I'd like to thank the SCC TV crew. I'd like to thank the interpreters. And in particular, I'd like to thank Ernest and Barb for organizing this whole thing. And I'd like to thank the charming and beautiful Brian Kirk and Good Company. And I hope you have a good day, and I hope you have an amazing year. Thank you so much.